Zach Lavine could be on the trade market, and if he is, the New York Knicks will, in fact, try to make some contact with the Chicago Bulls regarding his availability. And also, a certain greatest basketball player of all time almost joined the Knicks, not once, but twice. And I am not talking about someone from the 90s, so that leaves one name. And we're going to break all that down on Knicks Digest. So welcome back, guys. My name is Chris, and this is going to be a fun one. But first things first, let's talk about Zach Lavine, because he could potentially be on the trade market. And if he is, I'm telling you right now, Leon Rose is going to call up the Chicago Bulls. And he's basically going to just make a pitch. He's going to ask how much Lavine is worth. He's going to pitch what he thinks Lavine is worth. The Bulls are going to say that is not enough. And then those trade talks are going to die before Lavine ultimately gets traded to a different basketball team completely. However, it is important to note that Lavine is a CAA client, so the Knicks will certainly be in the mix the entire time. And if Lavine's value were to drop for some reason, say he goes through a cold stretch or gets injured or just starts holding out for some reason, which he won't do, then maybe the Knicks could trade for him. Maybe he would be someone who the Knicks want to target. So let's break that down first things first. Right now, as you can see here, the Miami Heat are favorites to land Zach Lavine if Chicago deals him at plus 260, meaning if you were to bet $100, you would get $260 back if you were to bet on the Miami Heat. And then the Brooklyn Nets are plus 300, same deal. You bet $100, you get $300 back. New York Knicks are plus 400, you get the gist. And the Hawks plus 500, Dallas Mavericks plus 700. These are the five favorites for Zach Lavine if he were to get traded away from the Chicago Bulls before the trade deadline. Now, the issue here is I do not think Chicago's going to trade Zach Lavine. I think if Chicago were to trade someone, it would be DeMar DeRozan. His value may be higher, and also his window is closer to being shut, that there is no reason to keep DeMar DeRozan on your team if you are going to trade Zach Lavine, especially because DeMar DeRozan said on JJ Redick's podcast that the main reason that he went to Chicago was to play with Zach Lavine. So that is just something to keep in mind. And also, if you just look at these odds again, I believe that the Miami Heat, the Brooklyn Nets, and the Dallas Mavericks all have a higher chance to land Zach Lavine than the New York Knicks. I just don't think the Knicks are going to give what the Bulls want. If the Knicks were not willing to budge on Donovan Mitchell, who is unequivocally a better player than Zach Lavine is, I do not think they are going to budge on Zach Lavine. And there are a few reasons why I say this. One being that the New York Knicks have already contacted the Chicago Bulls in the past about Zach Lavine. But here's a trade that was pitched by Bleacher Report. This was recently 2 days ago. It also involved Julius Randle getting traded for Karl Anthony Towns. I've been over the Towns stuff. I won't go back over it. You guys probably know where I stand. And you can probably tell from the tone of my voice. But if you look at this, the Knicks receive Zach Lavine, and the Bulls receive R.J. Barrett, Evan Fournier, a protected first-round pick, and an unprotected first-round pick. No, I'm good. I'm good. I've seen how R.J.'s played this year. I'm good. I don't really care enough about Fournier's contract to trade him for Zach Lavine unless, we weren't trading R.J. Barrett in the deal, and that would be a horrible deal for the Bulls. So I'm good. I don't want Zach Lavine as the starting small forward. You see? You hear those sirens out there? That is literally because that is the bad trade siren. That's why they're really loud right now also, is because that this article also had a Karl Anthony Towns trade involved where the Knicks gave draft picks and Julius Randle. So that's why those sirens are out there being extra loud today. It's the anti-trade sirens. It's the do not do this trade Knicks sirens. They're actually going to MSG to go find Leon Rose and tell him, do not trade for Zach Lavine if that is the package, because that is way too much to give up. And the Knicks know this. Because if you look here, the New York Knicks' search for improvements to their roster reportedly led them to inquire about Chicago Bulls star Zach Lavine. Now, this was over the summer. New York made contact, as Fred Katz said, to trade for Lavine, but the asking price was giant, and the two sides never got close. Lavine and his agent, Clutch Sports CEO Rich Paul, have made it clear that they aren't interested in a trade with the Knicks, who have a reputation around favoring CAA clients. Now, I did say Lavine was a CAA client earlier, and I was absolutely incorrect, so I will correct that right now. I don't know why I thought he was. Probably because I was just reading about a different CAA client who I'm about to talk about, a former CAA client before Rich Paul started an agency built around this man, and that man almost went to the New York Knicks once upon a time, and he is also right behind me right there, if you want to take a look. Not the R.J. Barrett jersey, the other one. You can't succeed. You can't be afraid to fail. It's the only way you succeed. A quote from one greatest basketball player of all time, LeBron James. Yes, I said it. And now let's jump into that topic. The Knicks almost landed LeBron James. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. And the reason I added those question marks is because it was a huge question. Did they? It sort of felt like in 2018, the Knicks, despite not being very good, had a legitimate shot to land LeBron. I don't know what it was. It just felt like there was some level of interest there that sort of got thwarted by just the Knicks being the Knicks. And also, one other thing, LeBron likes warm weather and Southern California. And that's really what it is. So let's just look here. This is a recent article from Sports Illustrated talking about this. Rich Paul was being interviewed by Shannon Sharpe on his Club Shay Shay podcast or show, whatever it is. I honestly don't know. Sorry, Shannon Sharpe. You're much better at this than I am. But the Knicks were one of the teams that LeBron was interested in. But Paul hinted that they were quickly ruled out because of past and future endeavors between him and his client, James, who expressed an interest in engaging in Los Angeles. This is robust entertainment industry and owned property in Southern California as it was. And because Paul had recently dealt with Lakers management because Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a CAA client. So all of that just sort of adds up into LeBron wanted to be in LA. If you did not know, LeBron spent every summer in LA ever since he went back to Cleveland for the second stint, where they made the 3-1 comeback on the Golden State Warriors, and LeBron was able to deliver on his promise to Cleveland to bringing them a championship. LeBron would always spend his summers in LA. It always felt like he was going to end up there because he loved LA, and he also was interested in getting into the entertainment business when it came to movies. Over the past few years, LeBron has had a ton of IMDb credits as an executive producer. On top of that, he also starred in Space Jam 2, which I know some people hate because they like Michael Jordan or because they were kids when Michael Jordan was in it. And now they're grown adults watching LeBron James act in a kid's movie. And then also just the movie House Party. There's this new TV show. If you've ever seen the show All American about a football player named Spencer James who lives in Southern California, he has a younger brother in the show who now stars in a basketball TV show that LeBron is the executive producer of. LeBron produces a ton of stuff. He worked on the movie Hustle with Adam Sandler, and you get the point of where I'm going to this. Also, yeah, as I said, he was in that movie House Party, and it was hilarious. LeBron's very funny, and I love him. So I wish he was on the Knicks, but that's not the way things are. And in reality, he was never going to go to the Knicks in 2018, even though it sort of felt like there was a chance because of the past run-ins that he had with the New York Knicks and their interviews, such as in 2010. But Paul said here, we weren't going to New York, but New York, even though New York was an option, James already had a place in LA, and I had the opportunity of spending a year here because I had KCP here, and I got a better understanding of the organization. Magic Johnson and I talked a lot. I knew Rob Pelinka throughout the years, and LeBron's family wanted to be in LA. Obviously, LeBron's son ended up going to school in LA, which was a huge sign of what LeBron was going to do. Bronny is now going to USC, which is the University of Southern California, in case you were wondering. That family likes to be located in LA. They always have been over the summers, and it's just where their life is. It's not surprising to see LeBron there, and it would be shocking to see LeBron put on any other jersey unless it's the Cavs jersey for the rest of his NBA career, however long or short that may be, as he is in year 21, but he still looks like the same old LeBron James. Now to finish this up, I'm going to show you guys why LeBron was never going to join the Knicks, and that's the wrong thing. Here we go. The meeting that Simmons described, this being Bill Simmons, when he was talking about this a few years ago, when it came out the Knicks had a disaster meeting with LeBron the first time around before he made the decision, when the Knicks were thought to be the number one option in the team that LeBron was probably going to sign with. James didn't end up granting a second sit-down chance with the Knicks because the Knicks went all in on glitz and glamour with their presentation, hiring James Gandolfini and Eddie Falco to reprise their roles as Tony and Carmelo Soprano. Their pitch was completely lacking in long-term vision on the court. As Bill Simmons said, James Dolan was James Dolan. They didn't have anything prepared. It just couldn't have gone worse by all accounts. It was a disaster. I think at that point, combined with the decade the Knicks had, I think those guys were just like, screw it, as Bill Simmons said. That's absolutely what happened. The Knicks were having a disaster run, and they basically pitched to LeBron, come save us, with no real vision outside of you're going to be here. And LeBron's never wanted that. He's wanted a detailed plan. That's one of the reasons why he signed with the Lakers. They had a ton of assets to make a move for a disgruntled star as soon as they could, and they did that, and the year after they won the championship. When he went back to the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were a young team that had Kyrie Irving, who was an incumbent part of that. If Kyrie was not on the Cavs, LeBron would not have went there. It came out that LeBron would not have went back to the Cavs if the Heat beat the Spurs in the 2014 NBA Finals. But they lost. LeBron saw an aging Heat roster and went to a team that just had the first overall pick in Andrew Wiggins, who they could have flipped, and they did, along with former first overall pick Anthony Bennett. And they also had Kyrie Irving and a decent roster surrounding it that was ever improving and had the money to make things work. And then obviously they traded for then NBA superstar Kevin Love, who's still doing his thing in the NBA. Shout out to Kevin Love, doing great in life. And overall, that's what LeBron saw. He saw a detailed plan, so he went back to the Cavs again. And then in 2018, he saw a detailed plan with the Lakers and signed with them and has had a good run where he won the NBA Finals and just went to the conference finals last season. And they ended up losing to the eventual NBA champions. The Knicks didn't have a plan, and that is why they did not get LeBron James. LeBron is one of the most calculated athletes in history of sports. That goes for all sports played everywhere. LeBron is extremely calculated on and off the court. Everything he does have a reason to it, and there is always a method to the madness of LeBron James. And the Knicks had no plan, and that is one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why they never landed the greatest player to ever step on the court. And yes, I said it, and I'll say it again. He's better than Michael Jordan. And that's all that we have time for today. This was a fun video to make. I usually never get to talk about more broader NBA stuff. It's usually Knicks news. So this was definitely a fun one. If you guys like seeing video topics like this, please let me know. I had lots of fun making this one. I sort of stumbled through it. I just got out of a whole workout. It was a whole thing. Doesn't matter. You guys don't need to know about my life. I doubt you care. So we'll just wrap this up real quick by saying, go Knicks. Have a great day, guys.